Hi everybody, this is Coach McCreary from Baseball by the Yard. Thanks so much for stopping by for today's video tip. Now today's tip is for catchers. Now I will say this is a much more advanced tip. Okay, so you're definitely not going to have to worry about this for the most part at the younger levels, middle school levels, maybe even not even at the high school level. Okay. So we're talking to higher level catchers. Now I'm talking about a situation where you have a first and third situation and that runner on first takes off on a steal. Now, of course, the danger is if the catcher throws to second base, the guy on third scores, which is pretty much a given at the younger levels, okay? Which is why a lot of coaches will just say, guy, just don't even throw it. Let the guy go to second base. I don't care. I don't want that run to score. So that's kind of how coaches work their way around that situation to avoid the guy scoring from third base. But as you get into that high school area and certainly college, you don't just give guys free bases. You're going to have a throw to second base when there's a first and third situation. And so if you're a catcher, there's something you have to do when you get to that point where you start having to throw to second base even with a runner on third base. Okay, so here is the tip that catchers learn, and it is a very difficult one to learn and to process. Okay, so here it is. When a catcher is in his crouch and he comes up and he is about to make that throw to second base, what you will see major league catchers often do is they will take a very quick peek down the third base as they are coming up. And so if their normal throw to second base kind of looks like this, they catch, they come up, and they make the throw to second base. You might see at the higher levels the catcher throw in a peek during that same process. They'll catch, peek, and then throw. Okay? Now what that does, of course, is takes a look at that guy down there at third base to see if he starts to come towards home plate a little bit early. And the hope is, if the catcher notices, catches, takes a peek, he can stop and then maybe throw down to third base or get the guy in a rundown or something. Now, when you practice this for the first time with catchers, it's very likely they're not going to get this right. Now, what you'll tend to see is the catcher will look down to third base just to look down to third base. But what they don't do is actually notice what is happening down at third base. You can teach a kid to get into the habit of coming up, turning his head and looking before they throw, but I've seen a lot of catchers who do this in practice where they look and the runner is actually coming down the line and the catcher still throws to second base. Now what that tells me is they have trained their head to turn, but they have not trained themselves to actually look for information that might impact whether they throw to second base or third base. So right now as I film this, it's December and all season workouts are approaching shortly. This is something that if you're at the high school level or above, this is something where you can start to work with your catchers on in gyms and so forth in non-pressure situations. Not only getting the catchers in the habit with a runner on third base to peak, okay, and do it without delaying their timing on their throw to second base, but also look down there and actually gather information to react on what it is that they're seeing. Now, as a side note, third baseman, here's a little tip for you. You have to be involved in this situation as well. Of course, if I'm the third baseman, that runner is right in front of me. And so my job as a third baseman is to try to help that catcher out. And so if I notice that that runner is going down the line, okay, and there's a potential that he's going to take off as soon as you let go of that ball, my job as a third baseman is I have to let that catcher know. And so the traditional way to do that is I throw my hands up, or at least one hand. So if I notice that guy's too far down the line as a third baseman, I make some sort of commotion, okay? Because when that catcher takes a peek, if I'm seeing this from my third baseman in that quick little peek, that's more of an indication to that catcher, I need to pay attention to what's going on down there. And so this is where the third baseman and catcher can help each other out. All right, so it's actually two tips. One for the catcher to take a peek, and the other tip was for the third baseman, and that's how to properly handle that first and third situation. That is a very tough play, takes a lot of practice, and that's why it is more an advanced thing for catchers and third basemen. But that is the tip for today. So thanks for stopping by and tuning in. And until next time, have a great day, everybody, and Keep working hard.